is key to a successful whiteboarding interview. If you go on a whiteboarding interview and you do not pseudocode and you start writing code, you will fail the interview. Okay, you won't pass it. So if I wanted to, just something really basic, and then I'm going to give you an opportunity to work on another algo, something really simple also, which I think you might have worked on already. Write a method called reverse string, right? That will take a string and return the string in reverse mode. So what would we do here? For pseudocode, so I'm just going to write out the pseudocode. I would start a program, okay? That's really what I'm going to do. I'm going to start a program, and at some point in time, I'm going to end the program, okay? Now, when they ask you to pseudocode, one of the rules of pseudocode is that you keep it code agnostic, okay? If I'm writing the solution for this, I shouldn't be writing the solution for Ruby. I shouldn't be writing the solution for JavaScript. I should be writing the solution in pseudocode that any developer who knows Java, C++, C# could come over and intuitively know what they need to do in order to solve this thing. So saying starting a program could be interpreted as a function in JavaScript, a method in Ruby. I think methods are pretty much for the rest of the things, like Python uses methods as well. So I want to start the program, and then what do I want to do? What should we do here if I wanted to reverse this string of text? What do you think the thought process is right now? What are the things that we need to do? Maybe we'll just, things to do, and we can just jot down a few of them. What do you think some of the things that we need to do?
You come up with a name for the method?
Okay. Well, program is going to be the name of the method for right now. Like, remember, this pseudocode is a generic thing. Okay. Start program is really start method or start function, or that's what this start program is really going to do, right? Start the program, end the program. And you'll see some of these ends used a lot too. If I do an if, I'll do end if. If I do a while, I'll do end while. If I do loop, I'll do end loop. These are just terms to use to generalize where something starts and where something ends, without saying I'm using a specific type of like for loop. You don't say for loop, you say iteration. So let's say we're in the program. I'm in the program right now. What am I doing?
You need to know what parameters to use.
Okay, so I'll just put here params is one thing. Right? I'll do this lowercase. We have the idea of params, right? What else? I'm inside of the reverse string method. What logic do I need to work through? Think of the logic. What's the logic?
Take in a string.
What's that?
Take in a string.
Okay, yeah. So params, I'm going to put that here. Params take in a string, right? Okay. So now I have a string, right? What else? What's the other thought process? How do we come up with the solution? Via our thoughts and our ideas, not the code. What else would we need to do to reverse a string of text?
You want to know the length of the string.
Length of the string? All right, cool. Length of the string, right? It's a good starting point too. Why? And so I would say like, all right, length of the string, but why? Why is it needed, the length of the string?
So you can know what index to reverse from.
Okay, because knowing the length, probably we might have to iterate, right, over the length. Something like that, right?
Correct.
Iteration over it might mean I need to know the index of it, or I just might need to know the element at that position, right? So if I take a string of text in JavaScript, I could do a for loop and use char and get brackets and like put in the position, or I could convert it into an array and then use like a for each. And then I just grab the actual element at that position, right? But iteration needs to be done of some form. Iteration is the thing, okay? What do we need to do then? I'm iterating. What do we need to do? I'm going to put a placeholder here because something's missing there, and then we're going to do something here. Just think, you're in the string. What would you do? Paul, what do you got? Your camera's on. You look. I can see you now. Any ideas?
Yeah, I put a few in the chat, but
Oh, you did. Oh, I did.
yeah, I say do an empty string. You need to be able to split it apart, and you need a for loop.
Yes. Okay. So iteration will be a looping construct. We need to, this placeholder here, I'm going to say is something like set a new variable to an empty string.
Yep, and then you need to be able to go backwards, so you probably need negative in parentheses I plus 1.
Okay. Yeah. So iterate over the length of the string in reverse order, something like that, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's one approach to it, right? I can iterate over this thing in forward order if I choose to use, split it into an array and push things to the front instead of pushing things to the back. There's multiple ways to do this. So our approach would have been to iterate over the length of the string, and we're going to do like the most basic, in reverse order. So we go from back, grab the letter, put it into the front, and then concatenate, right? So then what do we do here then? Like I think you just said, right? Concatenate, add the letter to the string, the new string, right? Or this string variable, empty string, right? I'm just putting ideas here. I'm not really truly formalizing the pseudocode. These are just the ideas. I'm brainstorming, okay? A lot of the times, a basic one like this, brainstorming is really easy. You almost know what to do. You don't even need the pseudocode. But in a much larger problem, write down all your thoughts, dump it, and then work through those thoughts. So I have these things. So I'm going to write the appropriate pseudocode to do this, right? Starting the program, and we know something's going to get passed into the program. Start a program, just assume that it takes in this string. So here I'm going to say set. And I'm using uppercase letters. When you do the rules, I'm going to go back to rules, that verbs, which are like something like set or iterate or while or if or and I'm going to put here action or conditions, condition words should be uppercase. Okay? And so set. I'm doing something, right? It's an action word. So set a new variable called, I don't know, rev to an empty string, right? Variables are used everywhere. I did not say set a new const variable. I did not say set a new let variable. I did not say let a new var variable. I didn't say those. Why did I not say those? Why did I not put let const vars there?
Those are language specific?
Yeah, those are language specific to JavaScript, right? We can create constants in Ruby by making everything uppercase. We can make it a constant, but in JavaScript, there is a constant variable type. And in another language, they may look at it and be like, I don't really know what I don't know what a let is in your language. Like, I don't know what the comparable thing to that. So be very specific. So set a new variable to an empty string. All right, awesome. And then we are going to, if I go back here, length of the string, because we needed to iterate. Like these two, kind of the same. I would say iterate. You could use the keyword iterate, or you could use loop. Either way. I like to use iterate. But loop is also the same thing, right? You're iterating, you're looping, same thing. Loop over the input string, right? Whatever was input, loop over it. Now I'm going to do this. I'm going to end the loop. Okay? So I'm just putting my placeholders here. I'm ending the loop. Just like I ended the program, I end the loop. All right? I'm giving clear indications where something starts and where something ends. Now I'm in the loop over the input of the string. And then we are going to do something like grab, the current string element at that position, whatever, or the element, and then add it to the end of the rev string, right? Seems pretty easy, right? Grab the thing, set the thing, add it. That should complete the loop. And then here, another key word would be to return the rev variable. Okay? This is really good pseudocode. I could get somebody from Ruby, Python, any other language, somebody new that's only like a week in the program, they could look at this and be like, oh yeah, I think I know exactly what you're trying to do. This makes more sense, right? This was just our thought process. These are just things that we had to do. This is the actual code to do it. Okay? So if we had to do this in Ruby, right, how would you do it? So what I want to do is, once again, this should be fairly easy to do over the last couple of weeks. I think, have you learned all of the tools to do this? Have you not already done this? Like, I'm guessing you know all the tools, right? To do this, to iterate? How many of you think so? Yeah, let me just pull it out again. Pull, have all the Ruby knowledge to solve this. Yes. No. All right. What happened here? Oh, we can't do that there. All right. Harvard Classroom. Boom. All right. So I just slacked it out. Have all the Ruby knowledge to solve this, yes or no? Okay. Awesome. Yes, yes, yes. So solve it. I will give you 2 minutes, no more than 2 minutes. Solve the thing for me. You have the REPL, I slacked it out. Okay. All right, Rod, try your best. Try your best with whatever you do know. Okay, whatever it is that you do have, just try your best. Okay. I'm putting a thumbs here. Click on the thumbs up when you solved it, and add your REPL link here. Okay, and then add your REPL link. I want to take a look at it.
Did we have to solve it your way, or what if we
Yep,
solved?
that's the pseudocode.
Okay.
We all agreed, like, that was the pseudocode. Oh, and I said, loop over the input string. I'm going to add in reverse order, right? Or is there another way to do it? Okay, Paul, looks good. You can just add your REPL link too. But that's fine, Paul. You don't have to add it. I got it. All right. So 2 minutes. So I got one solution thus far. One solution. So I had 7 yeses you could solve it. All right. So I'm going to give you another 2 minutes. 7 yeses, which means I should get 7 solutions to this thing. Okay, it's good. Oh, I got you, Paul. That's fine too. Okay. So your solution isn't our solution though. And I can tell you the same rules will apply in JavaScript as they do to Ruby in regards to the solving some of these algorithmic challenges. Using reverse method probably won't fly. It won't fly in JavaScript and it won't fly in Ruby.
From a logic standpoint, or
Because what they want, it works, right? I mean, that's how you will solve it in the real world, right?
yeah,
But on the interview, they want to know that you understand what's happening underneath the hood of reverse. Okay, it's almost a common knowledge standard that when answering a question like this, you do not use reverse. Because I could have taken the string of text in JavaScript, converted it to an array, did reverse, convert it back to a string, and I would have been able to solve it. Okay, but that won't fly. They will tell you, yeah, you could do that, but you can't do that. So what's another alternative? Okay. All right. So 2 solutions so far. 2 solutions. All right. Anyone else? Paul, Chrissy Mace, anyone? Tiffany? Just curious.
I had solved it using the array method.
Okay.
But now I'm going back and doing it
The other way, right?
the
Okay.
correct way. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, once again, this isn't necessarily the correct or incorrect way. I'm just trying to convey, like, you may, when you go on an interview, somebody may show you this and they'll say, hey, based on this pseudocode, I'd like you to solve it. And you're like, all right, I can solve the thing. Well, what is it? And they're like, all right. But they may want you to solve it in a very, very specific way, right? Or to make sure that you could come in, look at code and be like, oh yeah, I could solve this thing like this. That's no problem. Okay. So we'll go through it. Once again, we do have it. We can go through it. That was about, 5 minutes to kind of solve this problem. That in JavaScript, you could have probably like, bam, 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 banged right through it. I can only imagine in JavaScript. And I know Ryan was working through, like, doing a lot of the JavaScript to Ruby, right? Because you already know a lot of JavaScript, and Ruby's just kind of a conversion of one language into another language. Like, how did they do it in that language, right? So let's take a look here at, right, Paul's solution, right? Yeah, Paul's solution. Okay, so creating the program, which is a method. Called it reverse Revit, here reverse string, doesn't matter, right? Reverse it. I'm going to change this to be reverse string. I'm only doing it also because if the instruction said call it this, then call it what they tell you to call it. Like, any deviations from the instructions it's going to make them question whether you follow instructions or you kind of do your own thing. Now, this is a little thing, like reverse it, reverse string, no big deal. Like, no one's going to like go crazy, at least us. But if they said call it this and you called it something else, that means you're not paying attention to the detail, and it's the detail that may be required for everyone else to like know what was happening. I'm just saying. So we have here reverse a string, right? And so it was called that will take in a string and reverse it. So is this taking in a string and reversing it, or is it hard coding the string? It's hard coding the string, right? Didn't reverse it. It's going to reverse it, but it's hard coded. So we could just put in here maybe like word or something, or string. Doesn't really matter. I mean, you have string here, so we could just reference string, right? So I could say string. Let's see if that works. If I say, hey, reverse string, string, awesome. Set a new variable called rev to an empty string, and you called it reverse. So maybe I'll just go up here and say, hey, call it reverse. Doesn't really matter. We can, as long as our pseudocode. And then you did it in reverse order here. So what will loop over the input string in reverse order. So for I in string, reverse plus equals string length minus I plus 1. Okay. Then you end it. Then you just output it like you're putting it, right? Puts reverse or puts it. Can we do return, right? I think we could just return that. And we call reverse string. And if I was to call reverse string and give it A, B, C, B, would it CBDA, right? Thing with Ruby, you don't need the parens, right? Parens are kind of like optional. I could just pass it in, or I could have done this, right? You could do that, and that'll work, right? But you don't need it. And if you don't need it, why type it? Like, just do it like that. That kind of works, right? And so it reverses it. So
That's
for
not-
I in string.length, yep.
Reversed.
What's that?
It should be DCBA.
Yeah, that's not a reverse string.
Oh, no, it's not. I just saw the C, right? C, B, A, D. Yeah, so what happened there? A, B, that's kind of weird, right?
Oh, in your for loop, I think you need a third, what do you call it? Ellipse. Like from one dot.
Oh, here.
String dot length.
Now we got CBA, and so for I in 0, let's try that. Okay, there you go. There you go. So Paul, were those the results that you thought when you solved it? I'm just curious.
What's that?
I said, were the results that we just saw based on your solution, was that what you saw when you solved it?
I had the longer string, so I didn't really look. It just looked reversed.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So I would also suggest sometimes they're gonna give you coding challenges. So be real specific on those coding challenges and kind of like verify. It looked good. I kind of ran with it, thought, hey, this looks good, until we just ran it through. So I didn't even run it. I just visually thought, this looks good. Let's go with the thing, right? And so that works, right? Did anyone have any other variation to this? Any other variation?
Can we talk about, I think what really hung me up is the portion where he had on line 32, where it's string and then in the brackets string dot length minus and then I plus 1.
Okay.
How did we get to that? Like,
So think of string.length, right? That gives you back the length of characters, right? So in A, B, C, D, so we're going to get a length of 4. And then if I minus, so I'm at 4 now, I'm at the very end of the string, and then I minus I plus 1. So 0 plus 1, so the first time you do this, and if we also remember that we're still doing position, the first element is at position 0, right? So if I have a length of 4, in order to grab the last element, I have to decrement at least one value from that, right? So decrementing one value 4 gives me 3. So if I have 4, and then I minus I, which is 0 the first time, plus 1, so 4 minus 1 gives me 3, right? The next time, now we grab the element at that position, right? So now I grab D and I add D to reverse, right? So at that point in time, reverse, right? Reverse is really D, right? So we just put D in there. The second time this thing runs, I is incremented, right? So now 0 is 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. 4 minus 2 is 2, right? So now we're at this position, C. Then we grab C, and I put C in there. I add C to the very end, right? This is just kind of a novel way of doing it, right? It's just, I've seen this time and time again doing this solution where you just know if you got to go from the end, just grab the length and then just keep minusing I from it, and you'll eventually come down to 0, right? That's one way to do it. Did anyone do it any differently? I'm just curious. If anyone did it any differently than that.
You can reverse the loop, right?
This loop right here?
Yeah, like.
Okay. Did you reverse it? Did you have something?
I'm trying to do it, but I know you can do it anyway.
Yeah, there's a way. There is a way to do it. So what we can do here is there's other methods, just to show you, like there's some other methods that you can run to do this. I'm going to give you one other method that's called, so if I take this, I'm just going to copy it. I'll comment it out, and then I'll do it again. I'll just make the subtle change. So you know, like the thing with Ruby is like, there's so many ways to like loop. There is a method called down to. So I'll just put here using dot down to method. Okay? Down to goes in reverse order. So if I wanted to do this same thing again, using down to, I could set the length. Yeah, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to get rid of this right now. And I'll just get rid of this right now. And I'm going to do something like, I don't know, set length is equal to string dot length minus 1. Okay? Then I'm going to say set underscore length dot down to 0. Go down to 0 and do this thing. Okay, and I'm going to have I here. I am going to now end in this loop. Okay, so I have the end there. And in here is where I would do the reverse plus equals string I. Okay, this should also work. Let me test this out. Hopefully this does work. Yeah, so this works also. Okay, it's just another Ruby method. Ruby has lots and lots of methods to reverse strings of text. And this is just kind of one of those other ones where I can say, hey, go down to it. Now, I wonder if maybe instead of just doing that, if I did, I don't know if I can just do string dot length. I don't know if I could do this. Let me see if that'll work. I'm just curious. No, for some reason that won't work, right? I wonder if I wrap this up. Sometimes you have to split things. Is that going to work? Yeah, so that works. So let me get rid of that, right? I'm reversing the string. I'm getting the length. I'm going down to, I'm doing the thing, and then I'm reversing the string, right? Easy enough, right? And I think we could possibly, let me see, what if I put all of this inside of here? I wonder if I could just do one shot at it. Nope, can't do it. Thought we could. Maybe I have to pass. Oh, I break it. Yeah, because I have I here and it doesn't know what to do with I. Wonder if I just do this. Let me see. Is that? If not, I'm just going to go back. Yeah, I'll go back. Okay. Sweet. So we get the idea, right? Lots of different ways to do this. If you decide on the interview, you're like, I'm going to solve this in Ruby, right? And your Ruby skills aren't really that strong, but the job is back-end Ruby on Rails. And they're like, all right, we'd like you to solve it. That's great. You got the pseudocode. Can you solve it in Ruby? And you're like, sure, yeah. And you solve it like this, right? You solve it like this and like, hey, that's great. Can you use the down to method to do it as well? And then you're like, shit, the down to method, what the hell is that? I don't know what that is. What does that do, right? At that point in time, just stop and say, hey, I'm not familiar with down to. Could you just provide context into what it does? If you can give me the context, I'm sure I could figure it out. So, and then they will tell you, well, it takes the length of something, and then you can go down to a number, and then it runs this code block. oh, okay, I got it. I know how to run code blocks. I know how to do this. I know how to do looping. I'll figure it out. They'll walk you through it. But just know that if the job is Ruby, you got to know these little nuances. They are going to expect that you could be able to do this. Okay? That's just the way it is. Cool? Any questions? Like, I don't want to scare anybody, but, you know, depending on the job that you're going for, and this is why I really emphasize the need to look at those positions and see the skill set that they're asking you for. If you're going for back end, they may say, like, I really don't care if this person has solid JavaScript. They better have Ruby experience, and they better know how to do Ruby algorithms and all of the hard ones in Ruby. And you're like, I just barely know it because I just only did it for a couple of weeks. Okay? Awesome. So, given that, I'm going to slack out an algorithm that you are going to try on your own. And this is very similar to this. Pretty much, not identical, but okay. So here's the REPL. The REPL is palindrome, which is reverse a string, but is the same thing forwards and backwards, right? I'm going to get rid of this 1, 2, 3. I just want that. So input could be race car or what's another one? Because race car adds some complexity to it. So let's start with one level of input. And let's say, let me just do this, race car. I'm just going to do race car one word. Don't worry about this right now, okay? I'll take that out. If it was just race car one word like that, how would you do it, okay? So I'm going to put the timer, okay? I'm going to say, let's take a look. Tiffany, how long do you think to solve is palindrome in Ruby? Writing pseudocode and doing it. What do you think your time set is?
Time set?
Yeah, how long do you think it's going to take you to solve it?
Give me about 10, 15 minutes.
10, 15 minutes. Okay, I like it. Quincy, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with Tiffany on that one. I feel like 10 to 15 for me would be.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, it took 5 minutes before not everyone got it submitted, so I'm going to give you more time.
Because I feel like I have the information, but it's just like unpacking that.
Yes.
Exactly, and trying to figure out how, like, when we were doing this back with another language, Ruby's language is interesting, so I gotta figure that out real quick.
Yeah, it just adds a few, subtleties to it. Really, the logic is there. So what you must do first is write your pseudocode. You cannot solve this until you write your pseudocode, okay? Solve it with your pseudocode or write it so that I could give it to anyone. I could give, Dustin, you could write it. I could give that pseudocode to a day and a day could solve it, or Chrissy could solve it. Anyone could solve it based on your pseudocode, okay? So I'll give you 15 minutes, okay? And, I'll do 15 minutes and I'll set up the breakout rooms also, just so that we could jump into the rooms and help out if needed, okay? Point to any guidance. All right, so 15 minutes. I'll set out individual breakout rooms for everybody. Breakout rooms. And Caleb is going to be my co-host. And Brendan, make co-host. And, all right. Automatically, all right, here we go. Boom. Everyone's in a breakout room now. Go ahead. Hey, Tiffany. Just jumping into a few rooms, see how everyone's doing.
Hey, sorry. Looking up one quick little method.
Okay.
So I think I got it to print.
Okay. You want to show me what you got? Can you share your screen and show me?
Yep.
Just curious. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I just want to.
No, you're good.
Touch base.
You're good. I'm trying to find my screen. That one.
All right.
So I got it to actually print out the reverse, but I'm trying to print out the Boolean versus the actual word now.
Got it. All right. So reverse strings, string split. Okay. You got to. Okay. You're doing the array times reverse. Putting the reverse. You're taking out the last thing.
Yes.
And you're pushing it into reverse. Cool. And then you do reverse dot join. So now that you have what I would suggest is that reverse dot join joins the thing back into a string.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you store that in a variable?
So if I do like new string.
Yeah, it's equal to that. And now just do a comparison, like if, or return new string is equal to string.
New string. Oh, if new string.
Yeah, so you can say, You can run if, or you should just be able to say like return new string is equal to string. If that's true, it'll return true. If not, it'll return false. Try that. I'm just curious.
So you said return new string
equal, right? 3 equals to string. String, yeah. See, does that work?
Let's see.
It's been a while since even I solved this thing. True.
There you go.
Right. So now change it. Change race car to put like maybe something that you know is not.
Dot.
Yeah. There you go.
Yay.
Sweet.
Cool.
All right, do me a favor. Copy your code, put it into a REPL, and then add it to the link. Add it to the sheet that I've put into the Slack channel. Okay.
So put it in.
Yeah, in the Slack channel, I've added.
Yeah, this is this right here.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So add it there.
I didn't write it in here. Sorry.
Sure.
So just paste it in here.
Yeah, paste the link to the REPL.
Paste the link to the rebel.
Yeah. Create a REPL, just dump it in there. I want to use this because I want to see how everyone's solving it. I want to show everyone a collection of solutions so that everyone who struggled with it could solve it.
Gotcha. So did I do that right?
Let me actually take a look here because I don't think I have to jump back into the Zoom. I kind of show. I'm looking at you have the REPL. Now just take the link to the REPL. Grab the whatever your shared link is to that. Well, yeah, grab that and then go to the spreadsheet. Add your name.
Okay, where is the spreadsheet?
It's the spreadsheet's in the channel.
Got it.
Sweet. All right.
Okay.
Cool. I'm going to jump off.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you got it. All right. So, let's give a few more people need to join. All right, so I'm sharing my screen. Let's see what we got here. All right. I did ask everyone to put a link to their REPL, even if it's not done. Like I don't really. This isn't about like completing it. If you couldn't complete it, that's fine. This is just going to help me understand where everyone's at with these algorithms. At some point in time, if not this Saturday, next Saturday, I'm going to pair people up to do paired programming with algos. And I'm going to pair people up kind of based on how they solve some of these problems. If you struggled with it and two people struggled, I'll pair you up and you can work on maybe a more maybe easy to medium type algorithm. If you start banging these out, pair up, and you can work with someone that maybe just a little bit stronger in the algo. But don't feel bad. Like I'm not really great at algos. It's never been my thing. I only know how to really work with algos because I have to work with algos. I have to teach algos. I've done these solutions time and time again. So that's the only reason why I know them as well as I know them. So let's take a look. A day, I'm going to take a look at your solution. So here's a day solution. All right. See, I'm going to run it. Just make sure. True. Awesome. So a day, walk me through it. Walk me through what you did. Or not. There you go, Ade.
So I pass in a string into the method.
Yep.
And then I do a for loop to go through the string, essentially from the first element of the string down to the last piece of it.
Yep.
And I put the -1 obviously because we're starting from 0. So
okay,
it's the last -1 will be the last one. And the bonus question here, it said if the first letter is a capital, so it runs. So I put the down case, so it sets it to sets the string to all lowercase numbers.
Okay.
And if check, essentially to within the for loop, to say if the first what's it called? If the first element, which here will be string 0, equals 5, which is the last one in this, or whatever the last one is.
Sure.
And it should return true. So it will keep going in a iterating loop or something. And
okay,
it's true. And if it's not, then just return false.
Okay. So just to get this straight, like, and I'm gonna indent some of these. Is it not gonna let me indent? All right, only because the def should, just like a function, the def should have a clear ending. This for loop should have a clear ending as well, right? Just so that I know that this ends this, right? And then this end here, do we need the, yeah, we need the if, else, what does this end here?
I believe it ends the, I wasn't sure if it would end the if we needed an if.
Yeah, I'm not even sure we need the else if it ends. I'm just gonna, I wanna run this again. I wanna see, yeah. So I'm not even sure we need that.
Okay.
Basically what you're trying to say is if it's this, return true, and return should end the function anyway, right?
Right.
Should completely end it. So if I was to like Is car maybe 1? Would this still return true? It returns false. So it works. Right? I'm just making sure it works. Always make sure it works. Okay. So once again, you're using the for loop, looping over. Where was your pseudocode? I didn't see any of your pseudocode.
Oh, I had 1 second. I wrote my
Okay. Just want to make sure pseudocode's in there. Okay. Add your pseudocode. I'm just going to pull up Dustin's. Let's take a look at just one more. We'll see the pseudocode and everything. I'll go back here. I just want to kind of say, like, going through the loop for I is equal to 0, and then we're going to go from 0 all the way up to the length -1. You force the string to be lowercase. Okay. Now, what did we not get rid of? I don't think we got rid of what here?
White space.
Yeah, we didn't get rid of the white spaces. It's still working, but I didn't get rid of any white spaces. I'm finding it odd that it is just working. It's with the white spaces there, but string downcase, if the string at position I, right, which is 0 the first time here, is equal to the string length -1, the last character, return true. Oh, do you think this is doing what we think it is? How many agree that this is a solution? I'm a little hesitant to say that this is the solution right now. This is what I think. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, does that return statement end the loop? Like, what does the return statement end?
The whole method?
Yeah. So the whole thing. So of course, R is met. This R and this R are lowercase. They are true. It ends the whole thing. So I'm not sure that this is truly solving it at this point in time. If those two characters are, then return the true and the if, else return false, right? Return the thing if they're false. So I think maybe this isn't solving it the way we think it is, right? So I'm going to take a look at a second solution. Let's just take a look at one more solution here. We'll take a look at, this is Dustin's, right? Dustin's solution.
I've got some pseudocode.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We've got some pseudocode here. Define a new method. Now, when we're doing this, when we're writing our pseudocode, try to use those uppercase action words, right? So define a new method, right? So maybe I would say something, if you're going to, because it's got to fork it over. If you're going to say define, then say maybe define a new method, okay? So define a new method, pull in string. So I'm going to say define a new method and pass in a string, okay? Store the reverse string. So store reverse string as a new string. Compare the two strings. Okay. Bonus. So I don't see anywhere where there's a loop here. Right? The pseudocode doesn't say looping anywhere. It just says do this. Bonus. Remove the white spaces. Store the reverse string as a new string. But it doesn't really say how you're going to do it. Right? Let's take a look at the code though, just to see. So Dustin, walk me through the code.
Line 15 is obviously defining that.
Sure.
Line 16 is defining the trimmed string. That's for the bonus. So it's going to take the string, it downcases it, and then G sub, those forward slashes are what it's going to look for to sub.
Sure.
So the first symbol in there is the open bracket. So it's going to look at everything inside those array brackets. And then the backslash is just to start it. The S plus is white space. And then I added in a comma and period in there as well to strip it away. The forward slash followed by the comma is ending what it's looking for. And then passing in an empty string so that it just replaces all of those with nothing essentially.
Okay.
Line 17, it's going to reverse all of that. So it takes everything we just trimmed down and it's going to reverse it backwards. Line 18 just compares the trimmed version with the trimmed version that's been returned backwards.
Sure. Okay. So you did solve it. You did use the reverse, and once again, just on the whiteboarding interviews, reverse isn't going to be permitted. I mean, we know, and we already have the solutions for, reverse a string of text. Like we have this, we could easily have incorporated this, but what they're going to want to see on those interviews is that you know how to reverse a string of text, right? That's what they're looking for, that you know what's going on under the hood. Because reverse a string of text, using reverse assumes you know how to loop, and that you know how to do or know what to do when you're inside of the loop. That's really why they do it. It's just the standard across the board whenever you're doing it. So if you decide to try to use reverse, right, I would ask the interviewer, hey, can I use the reverse method? And get an answer from them before you do it. Because now you're going into the interview knowing that reverse really isn't the accepted way to answer it on the whiteboarding interview. It is the accepted way to do it in the real world, but not on the whiteboarding interview. Okay? And so this would work, right? Now your pseudocode would need to be revamped to kind of fit this, right? So strip the white space and symbols, right? I guess that, that's what that's doing. I don't see where you said anywhere where you're going to downcase it, convert the string to downcase, remove white spaces. That I would add some of that. So here define a method, maybe say something like convert the string to downcase to lowercase, remove any white spaces, right? And then you're using the reverse. And then you could say like, loop, end the loop, and say, in here, we could say loop over the string and add the current element to the string, the rev string. And that would mean up here we'd have to create a new string, right? Set a new variable called rev string to an empty string, right? Add the element in the loop, reverse the string of text. Yeah. Compare rev string to string if rev string is equal to string, return true, right? Else, down here, I would just say return false. I could end the thing with a return false, right? Because if this hits, it's going to return true, so regardless, right? If it doesn't, then it'll get to the bottom anyway and return false. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm doing this as an example to kind of show you how on a whiteboarding interview, this isn't going to fly. You're not going to make much progress with the interviewer with this kind of pseudocode. That this kind of pseudocode really shows that you're stopping, you're thinking through all the things, and you're writing it so that anyone could come in and solve the problem, right? Depending on whatever it is. Okay. And that's just kind of what I want to enforce here is this kind of code, to write it like that in that format. Okay. Awesome. Why don't we do this? It's any questions? Just curious. Do we have any questions? Anything from anyone?
Yeah, Joe, I
I did mine, and I didn't do any of the stripping or the removing of the white space and whatnot.
Okay, let's take a look.
And it's working.
Okay, well, I'm going to take a look and let's see. Def is palindrome, right? Okay. For I is equal to string dot length. So now you're going past a value here, right? You're going for I all the way up to a value in the string that may not exist from what I see here, right? So if string at that current position I is equal to string length -1, awesome. Okay, return true. Yours is doing, I believe, Mace, the same that a day's doing. The minute you return true, you broke out of the method altogether. Like you didn't iterate through every string. And you can even like test this. If you wanted to test, you could say, here, I would say something like this. Before I return true, I'm going to put str I. Why don't we see, do you hit every character, right? Because this is what I would see if I don't hit every character. Shouldn't I hit every character? But I'm not. I'm hitting what looks like N. That's the first character. What are you putting in here as a string? Like run, yeah. So I'm only hitting N, and then the thing ends, right? So it's not necessarily working to the expectations that you think. It's the minute you hit the return keyword, the whole method stops running. And it returns true. So it's almost going to always be true. If I remove this and now I run it, it just returns false. Oh, because it's got the else condition. So I'm just going to say if this, if it's that, I'll get rid of these. Here, we'll just put this, we'll keep the end in there and I'll get rid of these. All right, now let's see if this, all right. So N and N. So if the two letters are equal, so only this N matches, really. If it's equal, output it. That's really what it's doing, okay? It's not doing what you expected.
It's just comparing the first and last letters.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, and once again, this for loop will go through everything, and it's comparing the first and the last, outputting it. It ends the loop only if the two are the same. Okay, that's what it's doing.
Gotcha.
So, and that was the same. If we went back to, I think a day's. Yeah, was this a day's? Yeah, this was a day's. Where that was the same thing, returning true. Just know the return keyword is the same in Ruby and it's in JavaScript. So if you were doing this in JavaScript and you did the same thing, you would have returned just one character. And know also that if you wrote this. I would have to take a look at the pseudocode too, right? If in the pseudocode, if I go back to the pseudocode that we wrote here, then I would have seen like compare the two, and then the return keywords are over here. But after I've done the loop, add the current element to the string. So now I know I have a full string that is reversed. Then I compare the two and say if this, that, right? And this I would probably maybe even like tab that over. Compare new string to old string. If it is, do this, right? Or maybe not. I don't know. Either one might work. Or you could just do this. Like if, here we go. I would almost like revamp this and say if rev string is equal to that, return true. And if false. Like I would actually turn it into that. Yeah, Mace, what's up?
That was a day.
Oh, a day, yeah.
Don't we just need to have like in the comparison, like for the if check, don't we just have to put like a -I there?
A -I here?
No, not for Dustin's, for like mine. Or
oh, for yours, right?
It would be like if I.
This was yours, right?
I don't remember now. No.
I don't know. That was yeah. I'm losing track. Who's I think this was yours.
Yeah. So if on line 6 where you have -I, like string dot length -I1, wouldn't that do that?
Yeah. What I would say, I mean, what you're saying here is like if the string at this position is equal to the element at the very end of the string, return true, right? I would actually say the opposite of this. I would kind of say like, if the string, once again, off the top of my head, I forgot how to do it. If it's not equal to that, I would have returned false. And then at the very end of this function, the very, very end, I would return true. I would write it somewhat like this. I don't know if this is the way to do it. Yeah, expected syntax. Can I not do this? Let me see. Yeah. I would write it like this. Think of the logic. If I don't match, then I want to stop it. Then I really want to stop the thing from running. But if everything matched, right, then this condition was never hit. I never hit a moment where they didn't match, which means if they always matched, then I'd just return true at the very end because I know that all of them passed that test, right?
What?
That's the kind of reverse logic I would work with here. Now, if I change this is race car, but if I do race car, let's see, does this false? Oh,
What's wrong?
so something's not right. So if string I is not equal to string dot length minus I, right? Pop, pop, return false. And then this is where I would start putting like P string I, right? Let's just make sure I'm getting just the first character A. I'm not getting R. Correct? I should have gotten A there, but instead I'm getting R, so something's off. So I'm just trying to think. String I in 0, that should have been 0, right? And then string dot length minus 1 should have been that. So I'm going to do here puts string dot length minus 1. I just want to see 1 is A, 1 is R. It's kind of weird, right? So of course they're not. It's going to return false. Okay. So the question is why? Why is the first one output A, which would have been the second character, and not the first one? Anyone have an idea? I'm just off the top of my head. I'm trying to like piecemeal it together. The next thing that I would do is like PI. What is that position I? And it's 1. That's kind of interesting. We're at 1 when I thought I was at 0, right? So maybe this has to be -1. Nope, still at 1. Right? So I'm not sure why that is. I assume I'm going to put it right here in the first run. Maybe something over here happened. All right, so now it is. So maybe it's the position of things. See, now it's -1. So now if I change this back to 0, all right, there's 0. So what I probably would do is remove this and put this as the first line to make it down case. Okay. Now, all right, A and R still really weird, right? Because now it's 0, but here it's 1. And I don't see where the thing is being incremented. Does anyone see that? Because I don't really see it.
Try taking away length -1.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. A and R still. It's really weird because you want to go the length of the string, and you only want to go up to 1 less than that thing. And then if string I, right? And when we do PI here, it's good. It's when we're inside of this loop that PI here becomes as though it's being incremented. Here it's 0. All of a sudden in here it becomes I, but I don't see anywhere here where it's being incremented. This ends this ends that. Yeah, I don't see it. I'm gonna have to figure it out. Let's do this though, because I feel like it's break time. We went way past the break time. Why don't we take a 10-minute break? We'll come back. I'm gonna work on this in the meantime. Come back, and then we're going to going to make a decision. Either jump into another one of these or jump into classes and then maybe do another one of these in the afternoon so we can at least get through the classes, okay? 11:37, 11:47. Come back at 11:47. So break time. Come back at 11:47. Boom. All right. Oh yeah, Dustin, I'll send you the pseudocode.
Thank you.
Sure thing. I'm gonna Slack it into the thread where we're keeping track of everyone's algos. Okay. I just put it in the thread. All right. I jump up. Hey, just slacking out. I did figure it out. So knowing when it comes to these, the Ruby algorithmic stuff, or just Ruby in general, I personally work with Ruby when I'm teaching it. It's not something that I do on my off time. So when I'm working with Ruby, it's during the 3 weeks that we teach it, have a bunch of algos, work through it, and then don't touch it, come back, work with it. So there's always these little subtle anomalies that I know I figured out the last time, and then I just wasn't able to figure out this time. Like, it didn't hit me. Then I realized, wait a second. So I changed it up a little bit. The first thing that I did was is I took the string and I forced it to be down case. What about this is a mutation method? Like, how am I mutating the string and forcing it to be down case? Besides using down case, what else do you see there?
The bang operator?
Yeah, the bang operator. Did you learn about the bang operator yet? I'm assuming you would have, right? So in JavaScript, we know that we have to like recreate the string. I would maybe like, I don't know, loop over the string, capitalize everything, recreate a brand new string. There is no directive or method to say, hey, string, I want you to be uppercase all the time. There is none. You actually have to like reset a new variable to a variable that has it all uppercase. But in Ruby, this is the bang operator. Bang operator, right? And the bang operator makes the change permanent. Is it permanent? Permanent. I'm so bad. Permanent. Forever. Makes the change forever. How about that? So all we would have to do here is just say string.downcase, bang operator. The string is downcase. Downcase forever. Okay. What I did was the next step, and this is where I think solved it, is I split up the string. So I said s_l is equal to the string.length minus 1. So set it to that very last element in the position. This is still the same for I in 0, ... string.length. Awesome. And then in here, I run through it. I say if string I is not equal to string this. I don't have the -1 here. I do the -1 later on down here, where now I'm decrementing this value by 1 more every time. And that did the trick. And now if we do this, I get true. And we can see inside of here that if we did put string I, we would be going through all of the letters. R-A-C-A, race. And we're not going through the last letter. Okay. Maybe it's just not outputting it. But it's now working. It'll return true if I change this to be race car 1. It's false. If I go back to race car and put a space here, it's false. Okay. So it is working. I think we just had to split up, have the length here. I think a day before it was, you were doing a -1 here, and you just kept minusing 1, and something was off. Like, I don't know specifically, I just knew how I fixed it in the past. And this is how I fixed it, where I put the length here because I ran into the same problem you did. I remember seeing that several times in other solutions that I came up with. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Cool. So we will be working more. We're going to jump into classes. I want to jump into classes now. I just kind of wanted to get your brain going with algos, and we will go back to algos if we have time in the afternoon. I'd like to rework, a few more algos, maybe things that are maybe a bit more challenging. Not that, this didn't present some challenges, because it most definitely did. But I want to emphasize, and I did Slack it out. I slacked out the pseudocode. I put it into the Slack channel. I really want us to work on that pseudocode. Pseudocode. That's what's going to help you work through and think through the problem before you write your code. Awesome. Okay, so let me Slack out the lecture. I made one change here to the folder structure. Brian pointed out that I had called this week 19, day 01. It's really week 18. So I went in locally, made the change, pushed it up. I don't know if that's going to change anything on your side. You might have been working locally on some files here, like with a Ruby file while you were doing the algo work. So if you do the pull, you get an error, you might lose some of the stuff that you were working on. Okay. Let me go to lesson notes. I'm doing Ruby classes. Ruby classes is what we're working on. And for that, I'm just gonna create a new REPL, and I'm gonna do it in Ruby. I like the REPLs. They're like immediate. I don't like going to the terminal window. I'll copy and paste this code and put it into a file so that you can have it. But I'll Slack this REPL out. So as I save it, you can just like run it on your side if you wanted. So I'm going to say Starfleet Ruby classes. Boom. Okay. So here it is. Slack this out also. And so now, as I work through this, we'll have this we can do together, and this over here. And so now we can kind of start working through it. All right. So let me zoom out a little bit here. Ruby is an object-oriented language. Okay. And like other languages, most languages are object-oriented. I don't even know off the top of my head any other language that's on par with JavaScript, and the fact that it's not object-oriented. And I say not object-oriented, but we know in the world of JavaScript, right? I'm going to be doing some sort of comparisons at times between JavaScript and Ruby. So if I was to just spin up a new, of course, ES6, right? We know that what's one indication that something is an object? Anyone tell me one indication that something is an object?
Curly brackets.
Curly brackets. Okay, curly brackets could be one indication that something is a object.
Or key value pairs.
Yeah. Key value pairs, right? A lot of the times, I'm almost always going down the road, right? So this is, I'll just put here Starfleet JS compared to Ruby. Okay. One thing that we all know with JavaScript is, or objects in general, if I was to just do string dot to uppercase, right? This is a method, correct? And don't objects have methods? And don't we use dot notation? The clear distinction here is dot notation. Dot notation means that's the thing before it is an object. But we know like strings are primitive data types. And strings aren't objects, because if I was to do something like string instance of object, that should come back false. Okay, well, what about string type of? Or here we go, type of, so type of string. What do we get there? False. Oh, that's because this thing outputs. It's a string. So the type of a string is a string. String is an instance of an object. That's false. But a string is an instance of a string. So if I do this, I do that, does that come back true? Oh, no, that comes back false. Okay. Maybe it's lowercase string. Nope. Okay. Thought that should have come back as true. Surprised that didn't come back as true, but it's definitely not an object. Okay. But we see that dot represents that the thing before it is an object, right? So with JavaScript, we have primitive data types, then we have objects, and we have arrays, and then we also have these new things too, like sets and maps and some other things. But in Ruby, everything is an object. That's just the way it is. Everything is an object, okay? Now, there are classes, objects/classes here. They were all represented as, like, objects are kind of indicated as hashes. In Python, they're called dictionaries. JavaScript, we call them objects. So just know the language that you're working with, right? So that's why I say things like, hey, when you're writing the pseudocode, try to make it as code agnostic. But I think any of these languages, Python, Ruby, if you say object, I'm going to create an object, they're probably going to know. In Ruby, it's a hash. They'll know. In Python, they'll know it's a dictionary. They'll just kind of know it by default. We, as JavaScript people, would know it, right? Dictionary, what the hell is that? Is that an array? I don't know. But we've used hashes along with objects in JavaScript a little bit. Okay. So what is an object? Now, we're not going to do this. I'm not creating a local file. I'm doing it here, okay? And so a giveaway to something that is an object is, here in Ruby, hey, hello, world, right, dot, uppercase, and I run that. There we go. We know that this thing, string of text, is similar to the JavaScript version of it, right? It had a 2 uppercase. This has an uppercase. Okay. Well, if we do hello world and I say dot class, what is it? Well, it's a string class. Okay. So I have a string class, and maybe with that string class, I can do things with it later on, right? Obviously, I can elicit values from the string class, but a question might be at some point in time, can I extend the string class? Can I add to this pre-existing string class? Okay, the answer is going to be yes. You can also do the same in JavaScript, and I'll show you how to extend the string prototype. Okay, in JavaScript, we have prototypes of things, which are similar kind of classes, but different, a little different. Now, Ruby has these things called, once again, like open classes, meaning you can add to the classes that already exist. Awesome, and we can write our own isPalindrome method to the string class. Okay, so if we wanted to kind of determine if something was uppercase or reverse a string of text, we could do something like, so here if I say puts radar, which is also a palindrome, and I reverse it, is that equal to radar? Well, right? Yes, it's true. They're equal to radar. Awesome. And we can do same thing with, P radar, where uppercase R there. Then we can make everything uppercase. We can reverse it, right? Make that equal to radar dot uppercase, and that is also true, right? Once again, true. Same thing is true, right? Just make sure, yeah. Is that how you run it? Yeah. Command return will run it. All right. Easy enough. We want to kind of accomplish this. This is our goal. And that's why we started with like reverse a string of text, isPalindrome with our algo work, because this kind of follows suit along that that route. So there is a class called string. Okay. And anytime I create a class, I'm going to add an end, just like a method. Anytime you create a method, you add an end to it. So I'm just creating my structure. My structure for a class is this. Class, the name, and the keyword, the thing is done. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new method. Def is palindrome, question mark, word, and I'm going to end it. Okay. In here, we can, using the easy way, right? Once again, on the whiteboarding interview, you would fail, but whiteboarding, we're going to do this. We're going to just say here, we're going to use this logic, but say word, right? Dot upcase dot reverse is equal to word dot upcase. Right? It's a method. The method will take in a word. It'll take that word, convert it to upcase, reverse it, compare it to the original word in upcase. If that is the thing, then we should be able to see that it's a palindrome, right? Okay, well, let's call it. So borscht, I'm not really sure why they chose that word, but palindrome, right? Question mark. Okay, if we run this, we're going to get an error, right? I mean, it even says, I get an error. Wrong number of arguments. So what do you think this means? Wrong number of arguments. What happened? What's our logic? How many arguments should I have passed? I mean, given 0, expected 1. Okay, where was it expected? Anyone tell me, knowing what a method is, a method, knowing that I called a method here, knowing that we're getting this error.
It wants a parameter after is palindrome.
Yeah, right here, right? It wants us to give it a word. Okay, so if I give it borscht, right, and I run it, okay, it's true. So borscht, oh no, I'm sorry, it's false because these two are running. So let me comment these out. Okay, run it. All right, it's false. It's false for good reason, right? Because it is false. This word and this are not the same, and so that's going to error out. Okay, well, what if I was to, I'm just going to copy this because I don't feel like typing everything. What if I was to do that and pass in radar? Okay, I'm getting true. Okay, why is that? Why do you think we got false on this, but true on this? Well, this is palindrome isn't running it on the word, it's running it on the input that you gave that method, right? One thing that we probably want to do with a method on a class is to run the method without passing in this value, right? Wouldn't it be great just to have is palindrome and have that run on the word itself? Just the word, not passing in anything. In the end, a method is a function is a method. They both can accept parameters. There will be instances where we want to pass things in, but if I'm creating this is palindrome on a string, then I probably want the string itself to be the thing that is evaluated, not pass in the same string. That really doesn't make much sense, right? Having to have a string to call the method to pass in another string for it to tell me that that other string is a palindrome, it's kind of a little weird.
So I have a question.
Sure.
On line 13, does it matter that borscht isn't spelled the same in both?
Oh, did I misspell it?
Yeah.
Okay. It won't make a difference, but I will put it here and here. Yeah, watch. The results will still be the same. False,
Okay.
and this is true. Yeah. So the example here is to show you that you can attach a method to the string class. Borscht is a string that belongs to the string class. So we've extended the string class to include this method. The method takes in a parameter, right? Word. It runs its algorithm on Word and then will return true or false based on whether it's the same front and backwards or not, right? Same thing with this. Passes in radar and it runs this line of code. It doesn't care what this is. It only cares that you passed in this. But that's not the optimal way. We don't want to do this. What we want to do is to abbreviate it so that all we'd have to do is this. Have the method run by itself. Don't pass in anything. But look at this right here, the word before it. Is that a palindrome? So I'm going to change this to be radar. And now, in order to change the method to kind of work with that, there's this keyword. I'm going to get rid of the word parameter because we're not passing in anything here anymore. And instead of word, there's a keyword called self. Okay? What do you think the keyword self represents in JavaScript? And you have to know this. This is like
This.
self. What's that?
This.
This, right? The this keyword, it represents itself as this. And so what we're saying is if this, the word, uppercase reverse, is equal to this, the word, uppercase, then we should return true. And once again, the first time is false, the second time is true. Okay? This is how we write a class in Ruby, right? And if we were doing this in the world of JavaScript, just say I went over here and I was like, class, I'm not going to extend the string class to do this, but say I created a new class of like, I don't know, test string, right? Then I would need to like include a constructor, right? Super maybe. Then I would have to say, you know, this dot word, right, is equal to word. I'd have to pass in word here, pass in word here. Actually, we don't need to pass in word here. And then I could run a method down here called maybe reverse it. And then we could do that. And then I'd have to reference this dot word. And then we'd have to do the same thing, like this dot word, right? And then we could dot reverse, right? If I turned it into an array, I could. I'm just showing you the this keyword. The this keyword is being used here also, okay? When we create it, the this represents the object itself. And then because it's the object itself, we can then attach parameter, we can attach new key value pairs, right, to it. And if we pass this in, should go there, then reverse it would have access to this, and we'd be able to reverse it, okay? So the self keyword here is almost identical, or is identical, right? Self is this, is the same as the this keyword in JavaScript, okay? So, do we have anything coming in? All right. We can make our own objects. So this was just a way of like extending that particular object to do that. Now, I did mention that in the world of JavaScript, let me just get, we could also have done something very similar to that. Just pull up the other thing that I had here. I have it here. Just looking for something real quick here. Ruby, right? In the world of JavaScript, this was a string, but if I wanted to, I would grab the string like type, right? Is it an object? Is it not an object? I don't know. Strings are primitive data types. And I could extend it using prototype. And then I could give it a method called reverse. And then that could equal a function. And then I could extend it. So any of those standard data types, I could even have done it with an array. I could say array.prototype, and I could create a brand new map method if I want, overriding the previous map method, okay? In JavaScript, there is a way to do this. We don't do it very often. This isn't something you were even taught how to do. We don't often do this, but it is possible to extend the pre-existing data types to include new methods, new key value pairs, whatever we want them to include. We can do it, okay? But we don't really teach it this way anymore because we have classes now. And classes and inheritance are the way that we kind of do that from this point on. Awesome. So I'm going to go to Word now here. Okay. We're going to make our own object, right? Make our own object, make our own class, right? We know what an object is. So this is more like making our own class. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to comment these out so we don't really need those anymore. And I'm going to say class world. Okay. I'm going to end the class. Okay, so here's our class. And I want to kind of output the name, right? So I'm going to say name, def name, and I'm going to end it. And I don't really like the way they reference here, nothing but trim. So I'm going to say this world is, I don't know, Earth. Okay, this is just text anyway. And I'm going to go down here and I'm going to say world, or how about this? Earth is equal to Earth is equal to world new world dot new. Okay. The new keyword in JavaScript, where did we put the new keyword? I went back here and I had this test. How would I instantiate a new test string here? Let new string is equal to what? If I put test string here and I passed it in a new string of text, does that create a new class or instantiate a new class? Where does the new keyword go? Does it go here? Does that even feel right? No, right? Instinctually, you're just like, that looks weird. Does that look like it goes there? Is that right? Okay, so that's where it would go. I wonder if I wrote this right. No, super. We don't need super. Let me just make sure. There we go. All right? And now if I did new string dot reverse, this isn't reversing it, but I'm just showing you like, I'd have to console log this or return this and console log this. So here I'm just going to do this, console log that, just so that we can see that this thing works. And I instantiated a new instance using new. In Ruby, we instantiate the thing on the end. So it's world.new, not new space world, right? So new is almost a method that just comes out of nowhere. Like I didn't even create the thing and the thing is there. It's just part of the language, okay? Now that we have it, I can put, and we can see earth.name, and I see that it's Earth, right? We can even, add some text here. Hey, the name of the Earth is, the name of the planet is, or the name of the world is, right? Earth. And I can even output the class. And there we go. It's a world class, okay? And in the world of JavaScript, you could have done the same thing. So I have new string. We could console log and say test string. Let's see, with that console log, look, function test string. Just telling it's a function, but we know it's a class, right? Test string. If I console logged, let me see here, new string. I wonder if this tells me that it is of a class test string. See here? It has a class of test string, and then this is what's inside of it. Okay? This is always indicative of the class type. Okay? So here, I'm getting the class type. It's world. That's what the thing is. Also here it says like maybe it should have put out world with a bunch of symbols here. Like this here is indicative of, I think it's placement in memory. I think, not really sure. I forgot off the top of my head. I almost never use this. But if we were to put world, right, because I didn't put, oh, here we go, P Earth, if I did this, right, I'm getting this. World, all of this, right, it is the class world. That's the name, and then this is the type of class. So I think when we do just this, maybe tells us in where it's stored in memory. Not really sure what that is. Don't really use it, okay? So we see that we can have a world, and the world can have methods, no different than the string, right? String, created it, extended the default string class to include this. This is a brand new class, doesn't exist, never existed, and we're creating something. All right, so what if I was like, I don't want this to be Earth anymore, I wanted it to be something else, right? So if I was like, I don't know, Earth.name is equal to, how about blue planet? Blue planet. That's what I want it to be equal to. Well, I'm going to get an error. Undefined method name equals. Okay. So that's telling me that I just can't go to this name method and do anything with it. Like, I just can't say name is equal to something because this kind of insinuates like that it's a method, right? And the error I'm getting here is clearly that method name equals for yada yada. Did you mean name? Like, it's not going to work. What if I got rid of this? Could that work? Maybe it's a method. Nope. Same thing. Oh, look, I got a different error. Given one, expected none. Okay, awesome. So I've called it like a method, and it's telling me you're not supposed to give me anything. If you try the equal sign, then we get a different error, right? This error is like, you can't redefine it. Undefined method name. Okay, so we know that we can't do this. How do we fix this? How do we turn this thing into something that we can give a new method to? All right, well, let's see. So we can update some of the properties, huh? This doesn't work. So we're going to have to make some sort of setter method, okay? That's the first thing that we need to do some sort of setter method. So what I need to do, and like JavaScript, I'm just going to kind of go back to JavaScript right here. This keyword, right? That this keyword is available because we kind of instantiated that variable at the very top, right? So if in JavaScript, if I wanted to rename that or set word to something else, I could say rename, right? And maybe say new name. I'm sorry, new name. And I could say this dot word is equal to new name, right? Then down here, if instead of reversing it, I just call dot rename and we give it GNIRTS. So I'm going to reverse it on my own. You're just nerds, right? And if I console log rename, right? And what if we console log here this dot word? We should produce a different word, right? So console log test string is equal to string, new string rename, and then we're going to console log new string. We shouldn't even have to. It should look. It does it, right? It flips it. Okay? The reason why I'm pointing out what's in JavaScript is because this constructor kind of instantiates these variables and makes those variables accessible to the rest of the class. And all the class has to do is say this dot word, and we're accessing this dot word, not this word. Like this word is stored in this dot word, and that's how we now reference the word variable inside of here, right? We wouldn't go to the top of a class and do like, I don't know, let word is equal to word. That would break it. Couldn't do that. So in Ruby, what's similar to the constructor function in Ruby is the initialize method. This initialize method is something very similar to JavaScript. So in world here, I'm going to go and I'm going to create a new method called initialize. I'm going to end the method, and I'm going to use that kind of comparison of like the this dot name and say at. This is an instance variable, at name, right? Now, what is at name going to be equal to? Now, I could say at name is equal to something, right? I could have said it was equal to Earth, right? If I do that, well, then I'm kind of hard coding it, right? So hard coding the thing isn't like the best case scenario, okay? And then if I was to do initialize Earth, then down here, I would say at name. This is very similar to saying this dot name in one of the other methods, right? Now, if we do this, once again, is it going to set it? Probably not, but I'm just going to make sure, I'll get rid of this, make sure that this does work. Let me see, I'm getting Earth, it still works, right? Showing p.earth, we don't need to do this anymore either. I'm just getting the name. I can see that it has this name. I've kind of moved the name from here and moved it up into this initialize. And then name becomes the method that sees a method called name. It grabs the name stored here in the name because it was initialized, right? Constructor instantiates a new instance, right? Or we instantiate new instance, and constructor is used to create those variables that we want to reference, right? So I instantiated it. How do I change it? That would be the question. Like, I want to change this thing. How do I change this thing? Well, if I tried to do earth.name is equal to, right, down here, let's just see, does this still break? Oh, yeah, it still breaks. Can't do that anymore because, once again, name, this method, isn't something I can reassign something to, right? And even if I did this, still expected 0 arguments. I gave it 1, expected 0. Okay. So what we could do is, just comment this out really quickly, we can create another method. I'm just going to put some spaces between these methods so we can kind of see things separate a little bit. I can say def name is equal to something. You're going to pass in a value. Okay? I'm going to end this value. All right. Passing in the value, and I am going to say at name is equal to value. Okay? So now what it seems is like I have 2 methods. One method by itself just looks like it would return back the name. The other method looks like it's doing some setting to something. Like this particular name is equal to something. And so if I went down here and was like, all right, let's try this now, is equal to, right? And then we did p.earth.name. See if this works. So now I get Blue Planet. I'm able to change the name of this particular instance variable. And that's what this is. I'm just going to put a note there that at represents an instance variable. Okay? And that's how you make this variable accessible to all of the methods inside of this particular class. Anything that we need to access would be inside of this class, this instance variable. which then we probably make the assumption I could add lots of instance variables, right? This particular class isn't just going to take in one thing. It's going to take in a few different things. And so those different things or those variables, that information would be inside of the initialize method, okay? So we want to do something else. So make it so that the worlds we make will do something, okay? What's the something we wanted to do? Okay, make it so the world can populate itself with people. All right, I like that. So I'm going to go back here to initialize, and I'm going to say at people is equal to an empty array. Once again, we can have multiple things. So here people is equal to an empty array. We have the def name and this def method here. What you're going to see too is things that just kind of return back something, almost like you're trying to get a value and return it, versus methods that do something, right? From just the way this code looks, it looks like the return type of methods are up here, and the action methods are down here, all right? And we do the same thing, right? Here, we would store, if I was like doing this dot people is equal to an empty array, right? I define my my variables up here, and then my methods would get created below it. Constructor stores it all. Here in Ruby, it's just a little different. Initialize, we are defining them, but we also have methods that would just return those names of things, okay? So I would like to create a new method called populate, okay? I'm going to end it. All right, I'm going to reference the at people. Oh, not uppercase, people, right? I'm referencing that variable, and I'm going to put something inside of it. I'm guessing you've seen this for the arrays. Have you seen this for the arrays so far? I don't see. No one's on camera, so I can't
No.
really tell who's there. All right. Thanks, Gracie. This is another way of putting something into an array. Okay? Just Ruby has all of these little unique nuances to it. Did have Ruby array methods, right? Just taking a quick look for something that shows some of the other array methods. Because these array methods and what you can do is pretty cool. Array method, push. See, you can push into the array, and you can do that. Yeah, it's just a quick article that I found that had those two. Here's you push something into an array, and here you can push it into the array doing these double brackets going the other way. Just two different ways, okay? Another way to do this would be the shovel operator. That's what it's called. Both push and the shovel methods mutate the caller so the original array is modified. I'm not really sure if the shovel method came, push came first, which I'm assuming it did, and then the shovel method came later on. Somebody was like, hey, I think this is a cool way to do it too. Maybe from another language, they saw the shovel method being used in Python or C# or whatnot. I'm not sure. And somebody's like, hey, we can do the same thing. So they incorporated it into Ruby. So now you see, we can't push something. I'm going to push something. I'll say, hey, name. I'll say Joe and age 21. Forever 21. I will forever be 21. So now that we have that, right, this pushes into people. And if we want to see people, so I don't need earth.name anymore. We know that we could change it. So I'll just get rid of earth.name. I'll leave this because we kind of want to keep reminding ourselves that we can rename it. We're going to change this in a little bit. But if I was to now output p earth dot people, let's just see. What do I have for people? People. Is there anything? Oh, people, earth dot people. Oh, yeah. Right? I don't have any way at this point in time. Like, it's not allowing me to see earth.people. It's not allowing me to just show that, right? Okay, and what is it saying? Undefined, look, undefined method for people. Interesting. Can't really see that for people. I almost think like I should be able to just see the thing, right? But you need a method to see it. You need to call it via method. So this isn't going to work. So what if I was to say now people world.populate, right? I mean, once again, is anything going to happen? Nope. I'll just see populate because it does this. If I run this a couple of times, let's see. All right, it shows twice. And then maybe from here, just for the sake of seeing, I could puts people and then see. Once again, now it's kind of putting the people. What if I just got rid of puts here? Maybe see it. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm seeing. It's doing it twice. This is the first time it runs. This is the second time it runs. And then earth.populate is showing me the result of that. Okay. But I don't have a method yet to actually add it. I can't just go ahead and add the thing there. So we would need a method in order to do that. Okay. So let's take a look. Did that not work? Yeah, didn't work. Okay. Take a look. Provide data to the new value that's there. Okay. So we have new 47, right? 37. All right. Provide new. Actually, let's do this. It's 12:33. I think the last break we took was at what 11:37 or so. I think, right? Yeah. So why don't we take another 10-minute break? Come back and then I'll jump in to this new section here on populating it. Okay, 12:33. Why don't we come back at 1:43? Let's do this. Break time. Come back at 12:43. 12:43. Awesome. And I'll be here if you have questions. I'm just gonna go off camera, mute my phone, but I'll be sitting here unless I step away for just a second. All right. We're back. We're back. Classic cars. Remember. All right. All right. Let's jump in a little bit more, and then I want to assign part of the lab. So I want you to start doing. Okay. Providing data to a new object. So kind of like the constructor, the initialize. So initialize, let me just put it, initialize is like what in JavaScript? Who can answer that? What is that like? What does that compare to?
Constructor.
Yeah, so this is the constructor, right? So the answer is constructor. Okay. So just like, I'll go back here, just like, you know what we're doing here? We're doing world. I'm going to flip this out, and I'm going to turn this into world so that it's kind of the same thing, right? Instead of word, maybe a name. I just want to change it up. Earth, people, reverse it. We don't need that anymore. And we just had maybe the name, right? Name, and then this would return name. I'm going to try to emulate what we're doing there. This dot name. Okay? So I'll say let's Earth is equal to new world, right? And that would just instantiate a new world. And then we've already hard-coded Earth in there. So I'll say name. And then we know that if we did Earth.name anyway, right? That should return the name. But now I could also do Earth.name. And then that, Earth.name is not a function, but it is a function, right? I think maybe it's saying that this is the same planet name. Maybe I'll just do world name. I'm just going to try to change this up and see if this works. Earth.world name method. All right. So you can't have the same thing. I can't have this and that be the same thing. It just doesn't know what to do. It's like you can't. But you can in Ruby, right? Ruby allowed us to do that. Ruby had name here, but name was equal to something here. Still similar. In JavaScript, if I want to do this is hard coding it. I'm hard coding the name of this world, and I don't know what the name of the world is when the world gets created. So I probably want to do name is equal to name, right? But if I don't pass it in anything, it's undefined. So we know that the constructor, given these parameters, we can pass things into it, right? And we can pass things into it once it's created, right? So new world, how do we do that? Do we pass it in like this? Earth, let me see. That it? Yeah, there we go. So we know that in the world of JavaScript, when we instantiate a new instance, we want to pass something in. There is a way for us to do it. We do it via the constructor. The constructor allows us to do that. When we instantiate, we pass in the values here, and that's like passing them in here. This is the same thing, right? So in Ruby, makes kind of sense that this initialize, aka constructor, would allow us to do the same thing. So if I put name here, that would be almost identical to the constructor, which means if I put name, I can then make it this thing a little bit more dynamic where it would take in the name that you passed it. And instead of, I'll just get rid of this new name. We don't have to populate it anymore. If I said name, what do we want to call it? Earth. I want to call it Earth, and then Earth dot name, right? We have name, should return the name. This should work, right? Same thing as in JavaScript. Just it's written a little bit differently. The things are called different things. The functionality is essentially kind of the same thing, right? We can pass in more than one thing. So here you see def initialize name and the shape of the planet. You know, these are kind of wacky variables to pass in shape. I can do the same thing and say at shape is equal to shape. Okay. And then I can pass something in. So if I went here and I was like, hey, Earth, there's a comma here, right? Earth, comma, I don't actually need the comma, sphere. Sphere, right? Earth dot name, Earth dot shape. Let's see what we got. Oh, what did it tell me here? Unexpected, given 1, expected 2. So I think I need the comma here. Nope, shape. What's going on here? I'm passing in shape. Shape is shape. And this is not working. So let me see. What am I doing wrong here? This is a default parameter, but I don't want to do that. I want to do this. See this? This is what I'm doing. I want to do that, and that's what I'm doing here. I do earth.new, name, shape. So the method, yeah, remember? See this method here? So I'm going to get rid of this. What is this method? What is this telling us? Can anyone tell me what that is indicating?
You haven't defined a method?
Yeah, so I don't have the method to return it. Do I know that it's there? Sure. I know that name has that, right? I know that it actually has that. I mean, we could even like, maybe I could even like put, can I just do this? Name and shape. And I think if we do this, I think this should give us both. I'm just trying to get the name and the shape out, right? Let me see. I think this is like string concatenation. Look, I'm able to get it out. So I know that it's accessible, but it has to be provided to me through a method, okay? And since I didn't have a sphere method here, I can't just get access to this thing directly. These variables are just not accessible. However, in JavaScript, if I wanted to get access to earth.name, I just do that. And it would give me, earth, did I not? I didn't spell it right. Earth.name, I'll get back the name of it, right? Or I can just even get rid of this method and get the name. So in JavaScript, I have access to all of these variables. Doesn't really matter. I don't need a method to do it. I have direct access to it. In JavaScript, in Ruby, you don't, by default, have access to these instance variables, okay? They're accessible within the scope of the class, but you can't call them outside of a method. You can. We haven't gotten to that yet, but you can't do it right now, okay? So where we can start doing this is really, because that's really what we want, is this whole method naming thing is really starting to be a pain in the ass, and I don't want to do that anymore, right? There's got to be an easier way. I just want to access one of these variables. So what we can do inside of the class, we can include these ATTRs, ATTR underscore reader, and then we can tell it what we want to return back. So here we go. Reader shape. I'll add the other one in just a minute, but reader shape. Now remember, I don't have a method here to read the shape. I have to do it through the name right now, but what if I just did this? Earth.shape and run it. Look, I get back sphere. So these are kind of attributes to it, right? ATTR is kind of similar to attributes. ATTR reader and attr writer. All right. So what can I do with writer? Well, what if I wanted to write this thing to be a different shape, right? Attribute writer. Maybe I could do attribute shape is equal to box. Maybe it's a box now instead of, let me see, I just want to make sure that doesn't error out box. All right. Earth dot shape. Let's see what I got. Did I rename it? No. Local variable. So it's not allowing me to.
You misspelled Earth.
Again. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Maybe I'm going to pick something else that's really easy to type. I was going to do Mars. Should have done Mars. So much easier. Pluto. Something with Earth. All right. Do you see how I just reset it? Earth.shape is box now. I don't need a method. Which this really means is like, do I need this thing anymore? Absolutely not. Do I need this thing anymore? Absolutely not. Right? Say I wanted to remove the need of this method to like output the thing. How would I extend this reader to allow me to do that? Just that. If I just do that, I think it's just that, right? I do need a comma. Okay. With a comma now, I should be able to get earth.name. I should be able to get the name back. Awesome. If I add it to writer, I should be able to say name is equal to blue planet. And then I'll just console log that. And, oh, did I misspell something? Expected oh, I didn't put the comma. See this? Just so that you see the error. Unexpected error, expected a colon, expecting keywords and attribute writer shape. So it's telling me where it is. So I'll just go ahead and add it. And look, now I can rename the thing, right? I can still have all these additional methods to do things like populate people and do other things. But these attributes, these ATTR readers, oh, they're a lifesaver, right? ATTR reader, ATTR writer. Well, what if I wanted to aggregate both of these things into one thing? So I can say some variables are just meant to be read, other variables are meant to be written, and some variables are meant to do both, right? So I could take this and have rewritten it, because they both at this point in time I want to rewrite, could be ATTR accessor. Okay, here I'm saying shape and name. Okay, the accessor says I am a combination of reader and writer. So if you need to read and write, use me instead of using two separate ones. Now let's just make sure this works. Blue planet, right? If I do earth dot shape is equal to box, and copy, paste, see what the shape is now. I should see that it's a box. What if I just do earth? Let's see, if I just do earth, what am I gonna get? There we go, I get the whole thing. I get shape as a box, name is blue planet, and people is an empty array at this point in time because I have not populated it with anything. Okay, pretty good? Good so far?
I've got something, and I think I just might have missed something at the beginning where you got world and then that it looks like an ID afterwards.
Oh, here?
Yeah, and the output. Where did that come from?
So when you're outputting the whole class, you know, in JavaScript, when I was outputting the whole class, so if I was just like, let me see if I just do earth, right? Earth. Damn it. Do you see how it gives me the name of the class? And then it gives me the properties of the class, correct?
Yes.
See that, Mace? All right. In Ruby, it gives you the name of the class, and then I think these numbers represent maybe its place in memory. I think that's what it represents. Because remember, arrays, just so that we're all on the same page with how things are stored in both JavaScript and Ruby. If I was to say let array is equal to 1, 2, 3, right? And I say, hey, let array 2 is equal to array, right? So I have array and I have array 2. They both have the same thing, right? If I do array.to push and I push in the number 4, right? Well, array 2 has the number 4, right? Does array 1, does the first array, has that been changed? All right, so let's do this. Who is a good one? I saw you shaking your head. Has array been mutated? Yes. No. All right. Just like that, a poll. Tell me if the array has been mutated. Just like that out. Give it to me. All right. No, Mace. Dustin, no. All right. Come on. There's a lot more than 3 out there. Right? See, Rod's there. Rod, what do you think? Tell me what is Rod thinking today? Ryan, what's Ryan thinking? What's everyone thinking? There we go. All right. Lots of no's. Lots of no's. And so I shall reveal that array has been mutated. Say, what? What? How is that possible? How is that possible? Now, I know for a fact, I know, right, Mace? It's like, I know for a fact that you have seen this. Actually, I don't know for a fact. I'm going to take that back. Anytime I do teach arrays, I do teach this principle. So I wasn't the one that taught arrays, so I can't say that you know this. But the principle is this. Strings, numbers, null, undefined, those are primitive data types, really kind of basic data types. And then you have arrays and you have objects. And arrays and objects are, I'm going to say, essentially kind of like objects themselves, right? Array is an object. If I was to do something like type of R comes back as an object, right? Now, if I was to do R instance of array, well, that's going to come back as true. But if I did instance of object, oh, look, comes back as true too. Awesome. So it's the same thing for, I don't think it's the same thing for string, right? Yeah, string would be false. I just want to make sure I'm not losing my mind. So the reason is this. The reason why array 2 and array 1 are the same is because when array was created, it was stored in memory, okay? It was added to, I'm going to say, the heap. Heap is where all this memory is stored of things. So say it was added to this heap, and when we did this, all we said was, I want to create this other variable. So this variable is pointed to this information. This variable points to this information in the cloud over here. And then I'm going to create this variable that's pointing to the same information in the cloud. Okay? So under the hood, this array here is like, oh, you want to be me? You want to be me? Well, I'm stored up there. So, oh, you know what? Here's the address to where I'm stored. I'm just a version of that thing up there, and they decided to represent me in memory as this. But if you also want to be represented by me, let me give you the address to where I'm at, and then we can both point to the same thing. You make some changes, I'll reflect that. If I make some changes, you can reflect that. That's why they're both the same array, right? They're just called different things, but they're pointing to the same place in memory. If you ever really wanted to create a duplicate of an array, so if I was like, hey, array 3 is equal to array, I would have to slice all of the stuff out, and now array 3 is its own thing, because array slice is it's kind of like a looping method that just grabs everything and returns it back. And so array 3 is a new array, not a pointer to the old array, but an array that contains all of the elements. You could even said something like, if I wanted to do another way to do it, would be array 4 is equal to array.map, right? And just return D, and array 4 is now its own thing. So if I push into array 3, if I do push the number 5, then array doesn't have it. Array 1 doesn't have, oh, what was it? Array 2, okay. Array 2 doesn't have it. Array 3 has it, but array 4 doesn't. You can see down here, right? This is the output. 4 doesn't. If I do array 4 dot push the number 6, array 3 doesn't have it. Array doesn't have it. Array 2 doesn't have it, but array 4 has the number 6. Okay, that's the difference. It's pointing to memory. I think in JavaScript there's a way to like return back the memory space. I never teach that because I never use it and I never remember. But it seems like in Ruby, I'm assuming that this is what it's doing. It's like, hey, this thing is stored in memory. You want the memory space? Like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with the memory space. I don't. I just know that it's the world class, and that's pretty much all I want back from the thing. Okay. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Okay. How are we feeling about classes at this point? So let me just put in here, poll, how are we feeling about classes? Great. Do on my own, no problem. Good. Struggle a little with creating classes. Not so good. Going to take time. Okay. All right. This is anonymous, so I'm not going to know who's going to say it. So, how are you feeling about classes? Create a few on my own, no problem. You might struggle, not so good, going to take time. All right. Not so good, going to take time. Of course, right? You're learning something brand new. This isn't just going to be like, oh, man, I could do this super, super duper easy. Okay, it's probably like JavaScript. You learn React, and it wasn't like the next day you're like, man, I could just create React, no problem. It's not that easy. Okay, sweet. Well, because it's practice time. You gotta practice this stuff. So what I am gonna do, I'm gonna slack out. I don't want you to do the whole lab. I'm gonna slack out parts of the lab because I want you to do parts of it. And just give me a second. Capitalize. New costume, you add a gladiator. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to have you. Okay. Here comes the lab. All right, let me pull this up. I'm going to put here. All right. So let me pull up what I just liked out. Here's the lab. What I want you to do is this. It's a gladiator type lab where you're going to have a gladiator and arena, and both are going to be classes, and ultimately the arena will instantiate new instances of gladiators. Okay? What I want to just do for right now is do part one. Can you create a gladiator? Okay? Maybe create 2 gladiators. I don't know, what were the 2 gladiators from Gladiator, the movie? Anybody remember? Other two gladiators. Pretty kick-ass, right? Who's the main dude? Russell Crowe was like,
Maximus Decimus Meridius.
wow, that's really good. So let's have the first one be just Maximus. And who did he fight against? Who was the emperor? Oh, and
Commodus.
Nobody
What?
remembers him.
yeah, what about the dude with the spear, like his buddy with the spear?
The emperor was Commodus.
Commodus. That's good. I like it. Commodus. That's great. It's a great movie. I don't know
named my
about
dog Maximus after him.
Commodus. I don't know how Commodus is like Commudus.
Commudus.
Commodus. Right? All right. Anyway, here. I slacked out what their names are. So do me a favor. What I'd like you to do is create a new REPL to do this and then add your link here. This is how I can see how everyone's progressing with this, and I can take a look at a few of them. Okay. So far I only got 9 of us here with your REPL links. I'm just going to get rid of this space. Delete this column. All right. So open up a new REPL. You're going to do this. A new Ruby REPL. And what I'd like you to do right now, before we begin anything, is open up the REPL. Add the link here so I can take a look anytime I want. I don't want to wait till you're done. I want to be able to kind of jump in when I feel like it to take a look and see. So I'm going to say here, click here when you have added your REPL to the spreadsheet, and then you're good to start. Okay? All right. There you go. Thumbs up. You can't start it until you put the link there. You must.
Can you share the link to the spreadsheet?
Sure.
again?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
There. Okay, we got 3. This is good. We got Travis, Ryan's on top. Travis, we need Travis, Tiffany, Day, and whoever else. Who else am I missing? Just want a group of people. Shira. Gotta add it. Rod, you gotta add it. All right, I'm getting everyone. No one gets out of this. All right. So, how long do you think? What do you got? Mace, how long do you think?
20 minutes?
20 minutes? Sounds good. Ryan, what do you think? Haven't heard from you.
I'm looking through it right now.
Okay. And I just want you to create the gladiator itself. Just the gladiator.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't want you to do part 2. I only really want you to do part 1. Can you create the gladiator?
Yeah, I'd say 15, 20 minutes.
Sweet. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to say, about 20 minutes. That'll take us almost until lunch. I'll say 15 minutes, and then I'll just get a pulse. And if anything, we'll pick this up after lunch. Okay? So I'm going to say 15 minutes for right now. And I'll put you all into breakout rooms. And if you need help, we'll jump in. And the guys will jump in. Breakout rooms. All right. I will assign breakout room, breakout room, breakout room, and breakout room. All right. There we go. Everyone's got a breakout room. Okay, sure.
Hi, Joe.
I'm going to take that as a yes. Help me, Joe. Help me.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
don't know how to.
Share your screen and I'll walk you through opening up a new REPL.
Okay, so I tried to create a new folder for Ruby.
Okay, you can put
But-
the REPLs in there. Now
Yeah,
go
but-
up. You have to go up higher. Go new REPL up at the top. You see that blue link up at the top?
Oh,
Click on a
okay.
REPL and then just look for Ruby.
Okay.
Yeah, if you just search for Ruby, you can also search in the little search box. If you just type Ruby, there you go, right there. Create.
All right.
And you are off.
Okay, cool. All right, I'll put it in the.
Okay, sure. You got
Thank
it.
you.
No
All
worries.
right.
Oh, hey, you know what? Once again, I was talking, but I forgot to unmute myself. What do we got? This one was Paul's, and this one was Dustin's. Okay. So maybe that was it. Dustin, you want to walk me through? No wonder why no one was answering me. I was feeling neglected.
Sure. I mean, the bonus isn't really all the way complete.
Okay, that's fine.
But yeah.
Just showing your screen.
Oh, yeah, sorry. There we go. Apologies. Got it.
Is this one's mine, right?
I believe so, right? Dustin, let me see. I'm just going to make sure I don't want you looking at.
I was trying to go by the URL, but that doesn't help all that much.
Yeah. It was yours. Yeah, I just moved up a little bit here. Go ahead.
All right. So the, one is defining the class. The accessor allows read and write ability. I did try without that, and you can't pull anything but the entire object out. And then the initialize part is to actually create it with the name and weapon in that order. Name equals name is very straightforward. The second part on weapon was the if check for the bonus on that whole second half there. So defining it so the weapon will only be put in if it's one of those. And then, down at the bottom is just defining those new classes or new class objects, I guess, as the variable for Max and Com and Jess. Right now, it doesn't throw an error. It just leaves that nil if it's not one of those three weapons.
Okay.
I couldn't figure out how to properly break it if it wasn't one of those three, but that's about as far as I got. So.
Okay.
You use puts to break it and just throw a string in there. And this is broken.
Where you do what?
You can hit return and then puts after the end, I believe. And then you put like this is broken, and I think it'll pop up. Or just do an if check, yeah. After just when you do your if check, if else.
Oh, I see what you're saying. If this is true, do something. If not, just say you got to put in something or return something.
Yeah, and then you can just put puts, and this is broken.
Got it. Okay. Let's see. What solution is that? Let me see. Is that Paul? Who was talking?
That was Paul. I didn't get that far.
Oh, okay. Got it. Because I was looking at yours too.
Just a suggestion.
I think this was yours. I think the only thing, Paul, that you did miss out on was you didn't include the ATTR here.
Yeah.
Either one. Yeah. Or the initiator.
Yeah, I was still working through it. I was kind of just making sure I read the documentation and everything correct.
Okay. Yeah, once again, I mean, we're trying to just work through it and figure out the best way to get this done. But I wanted to give some time for everyone to kind of work on it, just to see how far they could get based on what they learned thus far. You've just been watching me go, and watching me go isn't the same as trying to do it yourself. Yeah.
Joe, I missed the bonus material, how to make it look like it's invalid. Because mine, I just got weapon equals spear, club, trident. I missed how to get it invalid.
Okay, I'm gonna work. Well, I'll show that when we come back.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
2:35. I don't want to hold anybody. You might have plans. 1:30, I'm trying to hard set it. So let's go to lunch. 1:35. We'll come back at 2:35, and then we'll pick this up. We'll pick this up then. Okay. All right. So stop share. Boom.